Hey guys, this is Rosa Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to talk about all the books that I read on January. Also, I do have a few books that I did not get to finish, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those as well. And so hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I can't believe it's already the end of the first month of the year. Today I'm recording this video on the 31st, and yeah, I can believe how fast the month went. It was super fun but also super fast. And anyway, I think that's gonna be the trend for the new year as always. But the first book that I read is actually one, like, it was an amazing choice. It was a 5-star and one that I highly recommend. And I only listened to the audiobook, so I don't have the actual book with me, but it is The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore. I will put it here on the screen. And what, again, a terrific choice to start the year. So this book talks about this woman on the 1860s, and she was basically put into this asylum by her husband because he just didn't agree with the way she was thinking and accused her of being mentally ill. It's a non-fictional book, so it was really shocking to realize that this is something that actually happened, and not just to her but to many women at the time. Women did not have the power to express their opinions, and basically your husband could do with you whatever he wished. So it was an intense reading, definitely. She would always defend her beliefs, and there were some times where all she had to do was say that she agreed with him so she can be put out of the asylum and be back together with her children. But she just didn't want to do that, and she really wanted to fight for herself. Definitely an empowering book, and I highly recommend everyone to read the story, because for me it was really shocking to know this is something that happened in the past, and this was basically not important how women were being treated. And yeah, it's, I think, very important to read, and I loved it. Again, for me it was a 5-star book. The next book that I read is one that I actually read with my girls. It's called All Dogs Are Good, and this is a poetry collection. It was just so sweet. Like, we always just like pick one and actually read it to the dogs and the cats, and some of them were really sad, of course, because it talks about, you know, how animals don't live forever, but their soul stays forever with us, and how animals like will basically change your view and life. It was just really sweet. So a super fast read, very entertaining, something to do with your, you know, read with your kids at dinner time. You just pick one and it's like 1-minute read. And yeah, I absolutely love this book. Next book that I read is Pretty Little Wife. This is by Darby Kane. So this is like a thriller book, and it's more like an investigation thriller type of book. So on this book, you're following Lila, and her husband disappears. He is a professor, and at the same time one of the students disappear as well. So on this book, you're kind of following the path of what happened to him, and if she might have something to do with the disappearance of him. And what I love about this book was the ending. I was not expecting what happened. She knew what she was getting into ahead of time. Like, now that I see how it ends, I kind of want to go back and, you know, like, look for some hidden clues that might have been included within the story as well. So I really enjoyed this book. So for me, this was a 4-star. So the next book that I finished is Hostage, and this is by Claire McIntosh. This is one that I've borrowed from the library, and I also listened to the audiobook at the same time. And I want to say that this book kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, I really enjoy the whole journey, but there's some things that really didn't sit with me too well. On this book, we're following Mina, and she is a flight attendant. She also is a mother of this little girl. On the book, you are kind of following the story about how hard it was for her to finally have a daughter. She has tried so many ways, and it was really sweet to see that as well. Mina is also having a little bit of like relationship problems with her husband, and she decides to take this really long flight from London to Sydney, and kind of like to take a little break from him. And on the flight, it actually gets hijacked, and she is finding this little clue that says that she, okay, let's go back. So on this book, we are following Mina, and she is a flight attendant, and she's also a mother of a little girl. She had many problems trying to have this little girl. Like she was having, like conception problems. So on this book, we're following Mina, and Mina is a flight attendant, and she's also a mother of a little girl, and she's having a little bit of relationship problems with her husband. So she decides to take this really long flight from London to Sydney. On the flight, she receives this note that the plane is being hijacked, and she either complies or something might happen to her daughter. So again, that was something that myself, I was thinking, like, what would you do? So many lives at stake, or the one life that to you matters the most. So you have to make that really hard decision, and you're following what is happening on the plane, you're following what is happening at home with the little daughter, and it was really good. The only thing though that I didn't quite like was the reason behind it, why the plane was being hijacked. Like for me, that didn't make sense. So that kind of moved, like this was about to be a 5-star book for me, and it just moved it down to a 4-star, just because to me it's so contradictory that you're basically hijacking a plane and risking so many lives for something that could be a good cause. So was that even needed? But anyway, on this book, there's also a little bit of sexual abuse. So that part was really hard to read, but it's also good at the same time to find out that the woman actually finds her voice throughout the story. So another book that I finished this month is The Push by Ashley Aldrain. And this book was intense, and I loved it. I loved the book. Now, I do know this book is not for everyone. Like if you're expecting your first child, please do not read this book. So in this book, we're following this woman who is basically pregnant, and she has her first child, and she's expecting this relationship to be beautiful and for her to have all those maternal feelings. However, that never happened for her. She starts to develop these really like bad relationship with her daughter. As the daughter grows older, she finds all these little things that she does that she's basically afraid of her daughter, and I don't blame her. I would be too. But anyway, so I think it was a really good book. I gave this a 5-star, even though, again, it's not for everyone. I do highly recommend you read this book. Of course, read all the trigger warnings. And the ending was one that I wasn't expecting, because the whole time you're thinking, well, is she crazy? Is the daughter really that bad? But then, yeah, it's a good one. The next book that I finished is The 16 and 19 Project. This is one that I read throughout the month, and again, this is another 5-star book. So this is a non-fiction book, and it talks about a different type of history, different from what you have learned all your life in your history books. This is basically showing the whole truth. It talks a lot about Black history and how they were treated from slavery, and how they're still being treated, fighting for equal rights to this day today. So it is a big eye-opener book. Of course, read this carefully, because it has a lot of scenes that are really shocking. Even though you do expect slavery to be like a dark period on our history, and the whole segregation, there's a lot of things here that are really, like, they put it as they are. And what I love about the book here is that it also includes a lot of poetry that was written during those times by different people. And also another thing that I like about this book is that it's divided per sections. So each section goes from like start to finish, from like a whole history on that section only. So for example, there is democracy, and how democracy is being formed within the whole slavery problem. There is race, and there is aspects of like how this country was built, like how is it was such a rich country, but to the cost of what. So you learned about like sugar trades, plantations, all of that. And then also, like, to these days right now, like medicine, you know, like the history back in medicine and how still even medicine to this day it's not equal for everyone. So again, a big eye-opener type of book that I think is a very important read for everyone. Hey guys, so it is later on the day and I was editing this video and I realized I never included this book here, which is Last Girl Ghosted by Lisa Unger, and this was probably the best thriller I read this month, so I definitely wanted to put it in. And I listened to this on audiobook mainly when I was on my way to Disneyland, and it kept me awake the whole time. Such a good book. So on this book we're following this girl who goes into this dating app and meets the perfect guy. I mean, I knew that going in and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it because honestly, like, it's not my thing, but it is so much more than this. It is so much more, and I just absolutely enjoy. It was so addicting. So on this book we're following the girl, and she of course meets the perfect guy, but he suddenly disappears after being together for a couple weeks. I don't remember how long, but he disappears and she becomes obsessed trying to find out what happened to him. And she even went to the place where he used to live because they had spent days together on his apartment, and then she finds out that it's just like an Airbnb, so everything was made believe. Then she gets a call from this private investigator that is looking for him to see if she knows where he's at, because he had previously dated other girls who had disappeared, and so now she's like trying to figure out if, you know, like if he had anything to do with that. And it is just so good. Also, you get to find out about her, like she has this weird past and her family was very different. And so for me, this was a 5 star. So if you are looking for a good thriller, something really engaging, like a fast read, it also has some like dark elements in it, but anyway, it was just really good. So those are the books that I have finished on January. However, I still have some books that I am in progress and I'm still reading, so I'm just gonna mention those really quick. And that is something that I do because I usually read a few books at the same time. Like I have my audiobook going. Sometimes a book just gets my interest a little bit more, but I am on the meantime reading other books as well. And so yeah, I try to finish some by the end of the month, but my books are mainly ongoing, so I'm just gonna mention those quickly. So I am reading Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is one that I started just this week, so I'm not very much into it. I think I'm 30% into the book. So one of my goals for this year is to read more classics, and I do want to read a classic every month. And so I want to start with the Jane Austen novels because I do have like the whole collection and I want to make sure to read one each month. So the one that I started is Persuasion, but I'm going to continue with this one throughout the month of February. Another one that I started and it is slowly moving forward is A Little Life. This is by Hania Yanagihara, and I love this book. I love how perfect the writing is. Now it is a really sad book, so I am taking it slowly because sometimes I do see that I need to take a break from, you know, the sadness and move on to a different book. Another one that I started and I am 30% into this book, it is The Night House by Lee Verdugo. So this is one that I have an audiobook, but I actually like to sit and read instead of just listening to the audiobook because I do feel like it's a little bit more complex and it was taking me some time to remember, you know, the characters and the situations and things like that. So I find it better to sit and read as I listen to the audiobook as well. So it's taking me a little bit longer, but worth it, so worth it. So this is a dark academia book about some students on Yale University, and yeah, a lot of mystery going behind it, and I'm really loving it so far. Another one that I am currently reading is Cloud Cuckoo Land, and this is by Anthony Doerr. And so this is one that I definitely wanted to pick up because it has so many awards. It was best of the book, one of the best of the books of the year for 2021, and definitely wanted to give it a try. And so on this book we're following these children. So far what I am is like they're going to this library. Each book that they open is a different story. So far I'm really loving it, but again, I'll talk more about this book on my February wrap up hopefully, if I finish it. Yeah, so those are the books that I read and have read on the month of January. Let me know which books you are currently reading. I do have another list of books that I want to start on February. Again, I want to be reading a little bit of classics. I do want to make a priority to read at least one middle grade book each month, and I still want to incorporate a Spanish book each month as well, but we'll see. That hasn't been working out so much. If you read in Spanish, let me know. I find that a little bit more challenging to read in Spanish than in English. I don't know why, but anyway, something that I definitely want to do. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know again which books you are reading, if you have read any of the books from my list. And so yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.